Okay, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host Eric Jennings, and thank you for joining me today. So I have not been posting this frequently because I've been on, I've been busy with work and I've been on vacation and stuff like that. But I did want to give you guys a little bit of update, a little feedback on using this Lumix S5 and mainly this lens right here. This is the Sigma 35mm f2. On vacation recently, along with the 85mm 1.8 lens, which I only use for a few shots. But before I do that, I want to kind of talk about, the S5 in itself. It's the best value in full frame. You have to work through some of the autofocus issues, as I just kind of displayed for you. If you put it in the middle, it does it. It's just not the fastest thing you've ever seen, right? But it's not intolerable. But anyways, this camera is only at the time it was $2,100 for the 20-60 plus the 85-1.8. That's incredible value. And I actually really like the ergonomics, the way this camera works. Previous versions of this camera I've had some software issues, and so I kind of mixed with the autofocus, kind of made me want to return it. But it's just a really good camera overall if you can get past the autofocus in video or continuous autofocus not being as good as Sony or Canon, but it's still pretty good. And I carried this camera along with, just like I said, the 35 and the 85, and I put it in a 3-liter Peak Design bag, and that made it really actually convenient. So one of the problems I have is carrying big gear with me, but I happen to use this Peak Design sling as like my man purse, if you will. I put my wallet in there, put my keys in there, stuff for my kids in there, along with my camera stuff, and it made it convenient to kind of just pull the thing around me, open it up, and start taking some photos. I'll be putting photos up throughout this video, so if you're hoping to see videos, I'm underexposed, aren't I? I am underexposed. If you're hoping to see pictures throughout this, I will be putting them up, and they're all from the 35 f2 Sigma lens, unless noted otherwise. And I want to show you a couple photos that I really like that I took. A couple with 85 1.8 and a couple with the 35. So overall the experience is really good. I want to talk about this lens a little bit. I love this lens, and I also don't like this lens on this camera system. So somebody's stuff is loud. Okay. This lens is very well built. It's metal. It's got like a clicky aperture ring, which I really like. If you buy it brand new, it comes like a magnetic lens cap, which is awesome. But the problem with this lens is it doesn't autofocus really great, especially in video, on the L mount bodies. Now, the video before this one you're watching, I made, and I've recorded the entire video on this. It does autofocus. It just takes a long time. It's even slower than this thing right here. I'm showing you guys. This gets there. It takes a second or two, and that's because of the autofocus speed I have it at. This takes a second. It's like the camera can't see through the lens as well to recognize that, hey, this is a face or an eye, stick with it, and it doesn't adjust focus as fast. But if you get focus, it looks fine. And so I recorded that entire video on this lens. The other problem with this lens, it's not really a problem, it's just a preference thing, it's really contrasty. So for black and white, I think it looks really good. In some color situations, it's a little bit much. You can easily fix that in post just by bringing the contrast slider down. I think the colors look really good in this lens, and I actually like the bokeh that comes out of this lens. It's kind of more of a busy bokeh that I like. I like that look. So overall the lens is really good. I'm not going to keep it because ultimately where I'm going to go is I'm going to make my L mount setup the 20-60 and then a handful of the primes, because they're all basically the same size, and I think they all use 67mm filter threads. So I can put polarizers and ND filters on there, and it works across the board. And so I'm going to return the 35 f2. I'm getting the 50-1.8, which I've seen good things about. I'll make a review about that in a future video as I shoot more with it. Just overall, yeah. Third item I want to talk about is during it, I made a quick short on YouTube about the firmware. I had upgraded this camera to firmware version 2.5 before I went on vacation, and immediately the next day as I was going, there was this issue. I'll put a picture up here where like vertical lines would show up on the screen as you're reviewing the image. And it's like some combination of like if you had auto rotate on or something like that. But long story short, Lumix must have heard this issue and they got on top of it really quick, because by the time I got home, which was 9 days later, they had already pushed out firmware version 2.6. So if you are a Lumix S5 user and you've got this vertical line issue, go upgrade your firmware to 2.6. It's now fine for me. I've had no issues. Okay, last but not least, some pictures. This first picture I'm going to show you guys, I shot on a 35 f2. It's one of my favorites. I'm going to print this. I think the contrastiness of the lens worked out really, really well here. This was edited in Capture One very lightly, actually, so these colors are pretty close to life. I mean, I just messed around a little bit with exposure and highlight and shadows. Didn't do anything crazy. No painting of certain areas. What's it called? Dodging and burning type stuff. None of that was done on this picture. I really, really like this one. This next picture here is the Mackinac Bridge. It's just shot with the 85 1.8. This was actually the picture that made me want. I had in mind. I knew I was going to take this picture. And I brought the 85 for this specific one because I knew where this location was at the campsite we were at. And I knew 35 was going to be too wide. And 85 worked out perfectly. That's not cropped at all. The trees kind of create a natural vignette. And look at the bridge. And I did do some like dodging and burning and bring the bridge up a little bit there. I just like the overall blue tone of that picture. And I think it's a cool picture. I'll probably print this one as well. So that's really good. A third picture I like that I will likely also print is this one of my son. We were in Clear Lake. He was kind of like having a reflective moment, if you will, in the water. That's the 85 1.8, and it looks really, really good as well. It's got kind of the ripples coming off of them. I just think it's a really, really cool looking image. I'll probably put that on the wall. I have the wall of photos that I constantly update, so that'll probably go up there as well. Overall, though, guys, for the price, I really enjoy using the S5. There are some quirks about it. You gotta get around it. It in my hand just feels better than the Sony did. That's just a personal preference thing. I think the Nikon's really good as well, but I did want a flip screen for these types of videos, so that's why I made that decision. Really, that's it. That Nikon's fantastic, especially that 40 f2. That lens is great. But yeah, I think ultimately what I want to do as well is try a Leica SL, SL2, SL2S body and see how I like that. Kind of get the more premium build with some of these L-mount lenses. I think that'd be really interesting. And see where we go from there. But overall, that was it, man, guys. 10 days camping. I love being with my family. I think my teenager could have gone without it, but she survived. And I really enjoyed just having the one camera and primarily one lens, just using the 85 once in a while if necessary. I shot mostly on the 35. I didn't bring the 20-60 at all. So it's been a good experience. That was it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Just wanted to share some thoughts, show some pictures, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.